Steelers. You see the identity of their team all over the tape, and going to be a heck of a challenge. Like I said, nobody I respect more than Mike Tomlin and what he's been able to build there, and the toughness and the way that team plays 60 minutes every single week. We got to be ready to go.
Very disappointed the coach was not wearing a leprechaun hat. Welcome back to a very special edition of the Enough Said program. My name's Dan Barreiro, joined by Justin Gaard as always, and Lori Fisher. Not wearing
leprechaun hat. I wore green though. I did.
Yeah. Well, they're in Dublin. I don't know if you know that, but they're in Dublin
I
right
do
now.
know that. And
Yeah.
wait, did I ask you guys before? Are you guys Irish?
Not even a little.
No.
I was in Dublin this summer though.
Oh, that's right.
Had a great
for the dance
time. Yeah,
competition.
yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
You're
I grew
still
up.
sick from kissing that rock, right?
I have not fully recovered
Yeah.
from kissing the damn Blarney
The
Stone.
Blarney Stone, that's right.
So dangerous. I had no idea. Anyway, sorry.
I grew up my whole life thinking I was not Irish, and then I did
Turns out you are?
I did that DNA deal in the mail, and I am. So how
Did
cool
it
is that?
change everything for you?
No, but well, I don't know.
Kinda
It's kind of
interesting,
fun.
yeah.
The Vikings are overseas for 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks. First, they play the Steelers in Dublin, and then the Browns in London. Quarterback Carson Wentz impressed us Sunday against the Bengals. Minnesota winning 48-10. He had a touchdown almost right away. A lot to be excited for, too. Isaiah Rodgers was the first player in the league history to score 2 defensive touchdowns and force 2 fumbles in a game, earning him the NFC Player of the Week. And Jordan Addison is returning from his 3-game suspension, Dan.
Well, yeah, the juicy part is the quarterback thing. There's no getting around it. And even though there's a lot more going on around this team, and quite frankly, you could probably make the argument that because of the turnovers, the takeaways, and what the defense did and what the Bengals did to cooperate to lose, you could have had Sam Howell at quarterback and you probably still could have won the game. But Carson Wentz played creditably, and that's a start, because that's sort of the kind of stability, even on that first drive, that the Vikings, quite frankly, the Vikings offense desperately needed. And so it does start the clock, even though it seems insane on the basis of one game, but it does start the clock on why the head coach couldn't answer the question, couldn't say, well, as soon as JJ's healthy, he's the quarterback. He can't say it because he can't.
Right.
If this is, to me, again, a real simple equation, the more Wentz plays and plays well and they keep winning games, the more likely it is he's going to continue to play. And once he, as you know, comes back to the pack, you'll have the opportunity to probably go back to JJ. But you ain't going to mess with winning. I just don't believe any team, even the Vikings, especially with the way they're put together, can mess with winning.
Especially when their schedules, we've talked about after these 2 international games, are very difficult.
Yes.
And Wentz has the advantage of the band's kind of getting back together, right?
Yes.
J.J. McCarthy did not have Jordan Addison, who was one of his safety blankets throughout training camp. Addison had a great training camp, right? The practices, we were out every time reporters were out there. It seemed like he was making plays. He didn't have Christian Darrisaw. For a stretch, he didn't have Ryan Kelly, who apparently is ready to go and come back Sunday against Dublin. So, yeah, it was a perfect first start for a guy like Carson Wentz, because you started the game really well, and then the game went completely your way, really, despite anything that you did or had to do. And I'm curious, Dan, how he plays now that he's got a week under his belt, that he has those reinforcements that we talked about. I thought he was cautious not to make the big mistake in the first half against Cincinnati, which, by the way, that's not a criticism. I think that's the way he should have done it. But you could tell there were times where he might have wanted to sling it a little bit. And against this Pittsburgh defense, it's a really expensive defense. I didn't realize how many big-name dudes they have, but it hasn't been a very productive one. They've kind of hung in with some turnovers, and that's always a big part of it. But teams are running the ball against the Steelers, which you don't often see. And if you look at most of the metrics, they're not very good. So if you're asking me which defense might be tougher in this European swing, it's probably Pittsburgh. It's probably Cleveland rather than Pittsburgh. Right. And I don't know if I would have said that. So this might be a nice little soft landing for Wentz as well.
Jordan Mason should be featured heavily again this week. As you said, Pittsburgh gives up a lot on the ground.
Yep.
Mason was tremendous.
He was great.
As the guy with Aaron Jones out as well. It's the central sort of contradiction about this offense is that the team, in fact, the entire team is kind of made, I think it's been built to believe it's ready to make a run right now.
Right.
And yet they're trying to do it with a young quarterback who clearly needs, probably going to have some bumps in the road. And I think that contradiction is why there's a chance Carson Wentz ends up playing more than a week or two. It's from the beginning, we've talked about it, right? Is it fair to expect McCarthy who did look quite overwhelmed in the
30.
second game,
Right.
to sort of be able from the beginning to in a very stable way run this ship when he's got a lot of good pieces around it. And I think that's what opens the door to the possibility of a Carson Wentz redeeming himself and having a chance to go on a comeback player of the year kind of tour.
And Vikings fans have no issues with that because this is where we've lived my entire lifetime.
Very true.
Right? Going
We
back
talked about that last week.
Randall Cunningham to Jeff George to Case Keenum to obviously Sam Darnold a year ago. We're perfectly fine with the unexpected quarterback emergence.
Enough said. And I have to point out, as always, Fox 9 has both international games.
Is that right?
They do.
Yes. We have a ton of games now. We have like 9 games in a row, I
I had
believe.
no idea.
Well, anyway, 8:30 both Sundays, this Sunday and next Sunday.
Well, that's the only reason we led with the Vikings.
Vikings Game Day Live right before that, too.
Yeah.
So, and we have Max Fuller in Dublin. We have Don Mitchell in Dublin, and then we'll have Jim Rich in London. So
does Max get to stay in
what
London?
could possibly go wrong?
Or does he have to come
I think
home?
he's coming back.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure.
All right, make sure. We'll check in on him.
The Packers need to redeem themselves after Sunday, their shocking loss to Cleveland. The Browns blocked a kick with about 20 seconds left, then hit their own game-winning field goal as time ran out. That was Green Bay's first loss of the season, 13-10. I know we said that they were contenders this season. They play the Cowboys in Dallas Sunday night, Justin.
Yeah, and they believed that they were contenders after they won the first 2 games, right? We have a lot of Packer fans that watch the show. No surprise that this show does extend into Wisconsin, and a lot of Packer fans come here. I've gotten mail from Packer fans saying that we've been too rough on the crew. I might get another letter this week. It was great. I'm still not convinced on Jordan Love, Dan. I'm just not. And I thought last week was a great example. He's super talented. He can make every throw, but I think he knows that, right? And he's put up these gaudy numbers, and they've had good seasons with him. But that throw to basically give Cleveland the game or the opportunity to steal the game, those are the ones where it's like Flip Saunders always used to say, you're good enough to get us beat, right? You're just good enough to put us in position. You're good enough to win a bunch of games. But at the moment of truth, you do something silly. And that was such a ridiculous interception in that spot that gave Cleveland, who really had no business winning that game, an opportunity. Now, it's 1 of 17. Packers are really good.
Their defense is good.
I do think they're contenders. Yes, we saw again that their defense is good, and they're still trying to figure out the new Micah Parsons era. So I don't think like this one loss changes everything. I would still probably put them right up there with Detroit, who, by the way, also looks really good after they dealt with Green Bay week 1 and didn't play very well. But it is a reminder that if you mess around, as Lori's favorite philosopher Taylor Swift says, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That's what happened last Sunday to Green Bay.
It's part of the reason that the NFL is so popular. And I think this week in the NFC North, the week just passed, what it reminds us of is the Detroit Lions are still pretty good.
Really good.
A lot of people gave up on them, again, because it's so we overreact each week. They laid an egg against Green Bay the first week, and then it was, see, we've got our evidence that without those 2 coordinators, it's over. And what did they do against Baltimore? They played a hell of a game.
It was a great
on
game.
The road.
30.
One terrific game. That is the best running team I've seen in a long time, man. And they got a 2-way, 2 great runners. And so let's not leave them out of the equation. The Lions are still very much, I still think, quite frankly, they're likely to be the team to beat that the Vikings have to worry about the most. Green Bay, to your point, that's still the question. Can the QB know when it's worth making some risky throws?
Right.
And can he back off a little bit and say discretion is the better form of valor? But they're in it, again, because of their defense. And even the Bears won.
Showing
I'm
a
not
pulse.
ready to put them in the playoffs, but they'd show a pulse as well.
I do love me some Taylor Swift lyrics. It's a tied series right now between the Lynx and Phoenix Mercury. The Lynx winning game 1 of the semifinals, but then lost in a tough fourth quarter collapse Tuesday night. It is the best of 5 series, but then game 4 will be in Phoenix regardless. Again, that Tuesday night loss was not like the Lynx, Dan. No,
it definitely wasn't. And as you were introducing this, I'm thinking to myself, can I remember a Lynx game when Lindsey Whalen was the point guard of this team in which they collapsed that dramatically in the playoffs? What, up 20 about halfway through the third quarter?
Yep.
And still up, I think, 8 going into the fourth quarter. Not very many, if there were any at all. And I'm not putting this all on Courtney Williams or anything, but I do think that's a key thing. Usually if you've got a point guard who can stabilize things, you stave off the possibility of this sort of collapse. And again, I actually expect the Lynx to win this series. But
me too.
They opened the door in a way that it was shut. This series was over. Phoenix knew it. And by opening it with, as you pointed out on the radio, a lot of bad turnovers in the third quarter, which kind of started the door opening, and then not being able really to score for significant stretches of the fourth quarter, they have encouraged a good team in Phoenix saying, why not us, why not now? And now you've made it a lot harder for yourself. Not impossible, but a lot harder for yourself because you have to win one of the next 2 games to extend this series to 5.
People make a lot out of the play we just saw, not fouling up 3
yes.
in Phoenix's final regulation possession. Totally understand that. They made a lot out of the fact that the Lynx couldn't inbound the ball with 2 timeouts left and didn't call a timeout up 3 a few possessions prior. And all of those are valid criticisms, but to me, it's the third quarter where they, I think, felt like the series was over, right? They played really well in game 1. They played an outstanding, basically 25 minutes in game 2. The first half was great. Third quarter, they extend the lead. And then if you were sitting in, I guess, the Lexus Club seats, you had a good opportunity to catch a foul ball because the ball was popping all over the place, anywhere but where it was supposed to be offensively. They just fell asleep. And you talked about it with Whalen. We've said it all year long. If the Lynx got better guard play in the finals last year against New York,
we're talking about back-to-back.
We're talking about back-to-back in title number 6. And Courtney Williams herself just wrote that, right? A couple of weeks ago in a story that she did, a first-person piece. If I would have played better in the finals, we wouldn't have been talking about Breanna Stewart's missed traveling call or anything like that. And that is the scary part.
She's still in and out.
Yes, as great as she can be and as fun as she and Heidemann have been this year and taking the Lynx, this new version of it to different popularity with the stud buds and the live stream and the all-star appearances and her dad, coming to Fox 9 and taking selfies with Lori.
Oh, Don!
Like, the whole thing is great, but if you don't play well down the stretch, and it wasn't just on her, that could scarily be the headline again because that's how important the guard play was last year.
And they still miss DeJohnny Carrington.
Yes.
Right? They still miss, that's starting to show up
for
as well.
sure.
We're going to wrap up the Twins season next if we can do that.
This should take plenty of time.
And then the Wolves bringing it back to the 90s. Enough said. When we brought up the Twins last week or the week before, I think we just said enough said right away, but we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. The Twins are ending their regular season this weekend against the Phillies, second to the bottom of the American League Central, just above the White Sox. Looking back, a lot of changes to the team roster, back and forth on what's going to happen as far as selling the team. Now concerns of lack of direction, more changes to come. You called it a debacle, Dan. You want to get after this?
I think that's the kindest word that has been
that you can say on television.
The number stats, last August 17, this team was 70-53. It feels like that's another lifetime, does it not? Since then, they finished 12-27 after that start last year. This year, remember, we had 13-game winning streak?
13, yep.
We started 29-22. And we finish, right now, we're at 40-68 starting the weekend. Even I can do that math. That's bad. That's a lot of bad baseball. It's a lot of bad PR because you go from a little bit of a high from fans thinking you're going to sell the team to a completely new owner, and you do the backpedal and say, not so fast, my friend. We're going to add some folks instead who are going to be minority partners. We want to stay in charge. And then the one that may seem little, that still cracks me up and kind of is symptomatic of the entire, for me, dysfunction and tone deafness of this organization, is they've got apparently for season ticket holders a perk plan.
Yep.
Where
the point system.
A point system where you accrue your points, and then guess what? You want to get an extra beer or two? You'll get it on us. And what did John Bonus find out from Gleeman and the Geek?
Their gift card budget had been exceeded.
Yeah, and he said, no, we're out of money. It's like. Does anything better crystallize the laughingstock that this franchise is, that they had to be called on that, and then with no choice, they were embarrassed.
Right.
They had to, at that point, backpedal on that as well. It is basically, since last August, mid-August, an utter and complete disaster.
You know what's funny, too? I don't think people have noticed because in the middle of the summer, the whole bit was, well, the Tigers are running away with this division.
Yes.
Like, what's the point anyway? Detroit's playing really well.
Right.
Nobody can catch them. Because I didn't even realize this until like 10 minutes ago. Tigers are in free fall. This division was actually winnable. But nobody remembers that because, July 31st, they traded everybody.
Yep.
And Lori mentioned last week or the week before we said enough said. I'm pretty sure it was that weekend we said enough said on the Twins. That's the funniest part to me about the whole operation is that there was actually a division that you theoretically could have tried to win if you were in any position to do it because the Tigers have completely melted down. The other thing, too, you know me, I always like to be solutions guy, right? Okay, it's a mess. What do you do? What are steps A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3 to try to figure it out? I can't come up with anything for this team right now, right? Because
I'm not sure they can.
Who's in charge? There's so many things we have to know before you can even start to formulate a plan. What does the remaining POLAD have in mind for the offseason? What do they want to do with the few good players that they have? Who are these minority owners, and do they actually want to spend money?
Do they exist?
Do they exist is a good question.
Yes.
And what are you going to do? How are you going to, I guess, shock this thing back? Because we've always heard forever, right? Revenue that we make goes back into the baseball team.
Enough said.
Their season ticket base has been reported to be like 5,000 right now. And if it's more than that, it's not much more. In the heyday of Target Field, I think it was 24,000, 25,000. That's how many people have sold off. Maybe as an homage to the Twins, they've sold off their season tickets and said, I'm not doing it. So it's really hard to see without some kind of shockwave therapy how this thing gets better anytime soon.
Well, that's how.
There's always next year.
That's where I was going to go. The real reckoning is going to be next year on the basis of that season ticket sales. Unless this team shocks the world, that's the only chance that they have. And somebody's got to speak publicly, like you said. I think it needs to be Falvey, quite frankly, to say, here's the plan, here is the vision.
Here's what we're doing.
We're not going to gut another $50 million from the payroll. We may not spend as much as you want, but we're not going to continue to do that. And as long as no one says anything, it feels ever more ominous with each day that goes by.
And not a letter to season ticket holders either in the email.
Yes.
Okay, really quick.
Everybody does them. We love them, but we don't need that either.
I want to get to this. The ABS, or Automatic Ball Strike Challenge System, will be a thing next baseball season. Human umpires will still call balls and strikes, but each team will get 2 robot ump challenges a game, and then the pitcher, catcher, and batter are only ones allowed to challenge the call. The system has been tested for the last several years in minor league. Dan?
I would just say real quick, for me on this, I'd either go all the way with it and just go literally robot ump making the calls, the balls and strikes, or don't bother, because I think for me, even though I know this has allegedly worked pretty well with the Saints, I'm not as convinced it's going to work at the major league level. I'm just against anything that slows a game down, that finally got a little bit quicker with the pitch clock. And that's what concerns me, not to mention the fact that I don't trust players who have to make their own decisions on that. No, I want this appealed.
Look at that. Look how quick it is.
I don't want to believe that. I don't trust them because they're not objective, as we've learned from NBA players for years.
Well, that's my favorite part of the research, is that players are right 50% of the time, right? And I think pitchers were the best
Umpires are right 94% of the time.
That's right.
Behind home plate. That's my point.
Well, maybe we'll learn our lesson. Maybe this will be the ultimate proof. The key to this, as you said, is it can't be you're going under the hood for 9 minutes, or the umpire has to walk over and put the headset on and just wait for God to talk to him and tell him what the play is. The key is that it has to minimize disruption, right? And that's why I'm more on board with it than you are, because we just saw the example. Player taps his head, he's challenged the call.
What if he's got an itch?
Well, that's going to be up to the umpire's discretion.
All right.
Here's the call, here's the challenge. Okay, it was a strike. We're resetting the count, and you go. Because the problem with replay, as we know, in basketball and football, is how long it takes to get all of these things going. When you need 50 camera angles and you're splitting atoms, you're splitting hairs, you're doing Zapruder-like film stuff. This seems a lot cleaner than that, so I'm actually fine with this. And umpires get to keep their jobs, which I like too.
It won't matter. No balls or strikes are going to matter with the Twins next year anyway.
No, we don't have to worry about it too much.
It means nothing to us.
Yeah.
The lightning round is next. Welcome back to Enough Said. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted, accused of giving false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. This all related to his investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. President Trump calls that a witch hunt. Comey says he's innocent. Bring on a trial. Dan?
Well, I have no idea whether he's innocent or guilty, but I do know that Trump, the president, canned the prosecutor, who I think, by the way, was a righty, if I'm not mistaken, who said, there's just not enough here for me to do what you want me to do, Mr. President. He actually showed a bit of a spine. So what did the president do? You're fired. And you know what I'm going to bring in? I'm going to bring in one of my own lackeys, a lawyer who, as I understand it, has never even, argued a case like this. So let's face it, we know what's going on here. And the fact that this is the result, nobody is shocked that in the end, the person that he handpicked has said, here's the indictment.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was going to say on it. I just wanted to make sure I understood that whole sequencing, right? So one attorney said, we don't have enough. They got fired. You bring in your own person.
Gave the right answer.
And here we go.
You're in.
Okay.
Late night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel back on the air after a week's suspension by ABC. 6.3 million people watched his return Tuesday night. That's just TV, and then tens of millions when you talk about YouTube and other social media platforms, Justin.
Well, I'd say if you're a salesperson for ABC or for YouTube, don't bring those numbers out to market, right? Because he's not going to get those again. He even joked about it. He said, I'm getting a little bit of revenge here because Trump is actually making everybody watch this show tonight, which, as we've talked about forever, late night TV shows do not have the sway and the power that they once did. Good call to put him back on the air. I thought his apology and speech was about what you would think, and now we can all move on with the rest of our lives, right? I think this was always going to be the resolution once you find out, like, you just can't do the FCC stuff that we talked about a week ago, and he's back. Whether people will watch, that's another discussion.
The Wild, they're back too. Their preseason is underway. They won their opener in overtime against the Jets.
Doesn't matter, Lori.
Okay, next up.
No, what I'm saying is it's all every Wild, lightning round, or regular part of the show
There's one thing to talk about.
Has to be about Kaprizov. Has he signed yet? And what's the answer, Lori?
No.
That's the problem.
Can you text Nordy and see what's going on?
Signed.
And how about Craig?
Good source.
I don't know. He may have blocked me. I'm not sure.
He probably muted you, so you don't know. How about Craig Leopold, the owner, saying, I'm not talking about it. The guy who always answers every question and has said some big things, including we're going to pay him more than everybody. His quote was, no upside, only downside. I'm not talking about it Thursday night at that preseason game.
He's terrified, but he's not wrong.
Let's keep moving. The Gopher football team opens up their Big Ten play tomorrow on campus. They play then Rutgers and then Ohio State and then Purdue. Justin.
Games like tomorrow are going to tell the tale of how people view the Gopher season in 2025. They let one slip in Cal, a very winnable game. The Cal team that got shut out by San Diego State the next week. That loss does not look good in hindsight, but we've talked about this for months. The home schedule is very inviting with, not that you should expect to blow out Rutgers, but it's a winnable game, right?
Absolutely.
You're favored at home. That's how the home slate sets up. Lori mentioned you go to Ohio State next week. Good luck, right? That's, top. I think they're still ranked number 1 in the country.
And
so
finally,
games like tomorrow are important.
My recollection is Cal McManus was great first half, but then they rushed him better, and he was not as good in the second half, even though they ended up winning the game.
And he's playing well, but he'll still give you chances at picks. You got to capitalize.
He played for the Gophers previously, Lori. Did you know that?
No,
Cal
I wasn't.
McManus,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, cool. The Wolves are bringing back their classic black trees jersey. The team will wear this look for 28 games, 21 which will be at home. The first one, October 26th. I think it's just really cool. Inspired from the 90s, right?
Beautiful look. It is. I mean, it's right up Guardsy's alley.
Well, Lori,
so
too.
Cool.
I mean, this is our generation, Lori, right here.
It's a great look. It's a great look. The next step, as you mentioned, got to be KG, the ceremony to retire his number and bring him back, right?
Well, it is so funny that people are texting me and going, well, this means they're retiring KG's number, right? They have to be. I said, yes, the second that A-Rod and Lori came to owners and have the team,
enough said.
It's coming. They'll get to it. They've thought about it.
KG's got a lot of demands, though, I'm guessing, so you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly right.